All right, thank you, Paul. So my name is Lucas Hardi. This is Dennis Mejillones. We both work at Bethesda Game Studios. I want to start off by thanking Pixelogic for having us out. This has been an amazing experience. You guys have been great hosts. We've had an awesome time. Friday we did the Sculpt Off, which was very intense.
Very.
And like Paul said, everybody, please go and vote. Vote for my image and not for Dennis's image. I'm serious. He has 2 3D printers already. He doesn't need another one.
And he
okay?
I have
0 3D printers.
3 kids. He has no time for 3D printing. Okay.
You have 2 printers?
Yeah.
You have 2?
Yeah.
You allow him to have 2 printers? His wife's here, so I'm just asking her because she's the boss.
Do not start something right now. This is not the time.
I'm getting him in trouble a lot, actually, I'm sorry.
You don't understand. She will come up here and she'll present the case and please.
You're right. Sorry. You guys are taking questions to your presentation too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, please, interrupt, ask questions. We've got stuff prepared, but we want to hear from you guys about what you want to see. So we got extra things if you guys want to see some other stuff. So I'm going to start off talking about our studio, the work we do, games we've been working on. I'm going to show some art from the whole team, just a little intro, and then Dennis is going to take over in the middle. He is going to show a lot of his robot stuff from Fallout 4 and the techniques he uses to do some really great hard surface work. And then I'll take over at the end and show you some of the stuff I do. I do a lot more concept stuff in ZBrush than final art. I do a little both. And that'll be it. So we work at Bethesda Game Studios, and most recently we worked on Fallout 4, and before that, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. And the thing to know about our team is that we make very big games. So, we expect the players to be in these worlds for 100 hours or 200 hours and still be finding new stuff to do around every corner, new creatures to encounter, new stories to unravel, new items to find, all kinds of new stuff. And so that's a big challenge for us because we are not that big of a team as far as typical AAA studio. So we're around 120, and I didn't go around and count heads in here, so I might be off by 10 one way or the other. But this is the team that made Fallout 4. We did a little bit of outsourcing and had some outside help, but not much. It was really us. And so what we try to focus on for the way we make our art is to be very efficient and get a lot out of what we do. And so the way we do that is we try to approach everything with kits. So we do landscape kits. We got the terrain with textures on it. We make, grass and brush and trees and roads, and then we make a giant world out of that kit by reusing and kit bashing and put it together in different ways. Another example, landscape stuff. And then we do the same thing for our architecture. And we do pretty complex architecture kits. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, a couple of guys from our studio, Joel Burgess and Nate Perkypile, have done some GDC talks on how we do modular architecture kits and put them together, build whole cities, so that you still have places to explore after you've been playing for a long time. Another example of that. So you can find those talks online if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And then Dennis is going to show you some robot stuff. And the robot system that he worked on with some other folks at BGS was designed around being a kit for robots, and not just a visual kit, but the system will bring in the animation skeleton with a piece of the robot. So if you bring in a different arm for the robot, it brings in the animation skeleton and the animations and the behavior for that part. He's going to show you some stuff, but it's going to explain how we're not only bringing in different visual elements, but different gameplay. And this model's actually Charles Kim. He did a little bit of robot stuff with you too. Mm-hmm. And then it does things like you can shoot the the armor plating off when you're fighting these guys and see the internals. So we spent a lot of time making sure that stuff was there too.
Yeah.
And then we do all this work with kits, and we make all this art with it, and we also try to make sure that the player, as much as possible, has the opportunity to play with these kits too. So, for example, we make this gun modding system in Fallout 4 where you can go and get all these different pieces for guns and combine them in different ways, and that lets you play the game kind of how you want to play the game. And we do the same thing with our characters. So our armor system lets you wear an outfit and put different pieces of armor on top of that outfit, and then you can have a companion, dress them up how you want, have them, look the way you want, and then power armor, you can get in power armor, and that's got different pieces on it too. And we try and build our tech around this too. So again, a small team, we want to make sure we're getting the most out of our art. So our tech is trying to make it so that the artists have the ability to do things with these kits to make a lot of unique stuff. So when I was starting on the synths for Fallout 4, Dennis had worked on a lot of this robot stuff with Guy Carver, our technical director at Bethesda. And then I was familiar with the armor system I was just talking about. And so I was kind of able to take the robot stuff and the armor system and kind of mix them together. And it didn't need any new tech to do what we did with the synths. And so they start with this underlying metal mechanical stuff, like the robots. And then they've got like a scaffolding on top of that, which supports a rubber skin. And you can shoot this off of them the same way as the panels on the robots. And you can dismember their limbs and see all the mechanical stuff underneath. But then like the characters, they can wear outfits and have armor on top of that. And then when you kill them, you can take the armor and you can wear it yourself. And there's different armor systems and things like that. So that's an example of I didn't need any new tech. I didn't need any programming help to be able to put that in the game because these systems were there based around modular kits for all our art. So I'm going to show some, before I hand it off to Dennis, I'm going to show some art, ZBrush art from the artists who are not here with us today, from the team. Just kind of show, the breadth of stuff that we're doing in ZBrush. And all these images are renders we did from ZBrush into Keyshot for our art book. Although not all of them made it into the art book, but I think a couple here didn't quite make it in. But if you like this kind of stuff, pick up our art book. It's not only got a lot of this type of stuff in it, but it's got a lot of great concept art as well. So we've put a lot of work into that book. So this is from Ben Carnow. He's has a special talent for disgusting insects.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
You guys should see his reference window.
He did, I think, this one first, and then they just were like, okay, you get all the bugs, Like, yeah, he got gross with this stuff. Where are we going with this image viewer? Got to zoom out, and then it'll work. More. There it goes. Oh, yeah, this one. So this is the blood bug, and this is what it does to you in the game. It grabs you, and it sucks your blood out of your face. It's great. Yeah, so he spent some time making sure this moment was scary. The classic Brahmin. Count the nipples. FEV Hound. This is the Super Mutants attack dog. Oh, this one. Okay, so this is Liberty Prime. Ben was working on this, and this guy, I think I got another image. Here we go. This guy is about 3 stories tall. And when you start playing the game, he's not built yet. And so through the questing, what the player does, he gets constructed in this giant gantry. And you can walk up and get close to him and see all this detail that Ben models.
Spoilers. Everybody walk out now who has not gotten this far.
Yeah. Well, that Liberty Prime is in the game? That's a spoiler? Come on.
I'm just saying. You never know.
Okay, Liberty Prime's in the game, guys. He was in Fallout 3, too, so it's not that big a spoiler. But, yeah. So So Ben spent a lot of time building this thing, and he put this all in one ZBrush file, and I think his computer wasn't up to the task because
No.
it was crashing.
He had it broken off in pieces
Eventually, yeah, he
until he
had
had
to.
a new computer, and then he was able to put it together.
Yeah, but then there's a part in the game where characters climb on this, and it's like, yeah, he went crazy with this thing.
For this guy, because he had to, he had to appear like he was 3 stories tall, so the details on him have to feel appropriate. So you have a lot more smaller rivets because you're not going to have necessarily these giant rivets, and so you have to fill these larger surfaces with a lot more details versus a robot that's standard scale to make it feel like it was believable when it was scaled. It didn't just feel like something that was just scaled up. It felt like it was truly that size.
So here's a good example of a gun kit. Ben did this. This is the plasma gun set. And we do, I think, all of our hard surface gun work in ZBrush. Ben and another guy, Dane, who I'll show you some of his stuff in a minute, did all this stuff. So Charles Kim here, he did the ghouls and the minigun here. Christiane Meister, this is the Mirelurk Queen, another 3-story tall creature. This thing has like little babies that pop off its back and run after you. Our outsourcing team did some stuff. This is the cryolator. I love this design. Jonah Loeb did this great creature modeler. This is the Death Claw. I really like this sculpt.
Jonah also did the Alduin and all the dragons for Skyrim. He's a very talented guy.
Yeah.
Although I hate his guts, but he's very talented.
Jonah is Dennis's nemesis.
He is my nemesis.
Yes. Many office fights. Okay, here's some of Dane's stuff. This is the part of the laser weapon set. So this is just one example of how this gun kit can look. This is the laser musket version of it, but it can look a lot of different ways. Dane also did the pipe gun set. So this is a much bigger kit. A lot of different pieces to pull together. And we already saw that. Oh, what's going on? Got the same images going on. Oh, Jonah did the Mirelurk as well. And what the hell is the name of this thing?
That was Jonah. What was that?
Mole Rat. There we go. And he did the base bodies for the super mutants, and then I kind of worked on it after that. This one didn't make it into the game. This was going to be like a bigger version of the super mutant called Super Mutant Brute. And then we build armor systems for them so they can have different piecemeal armor going on top. Yep. Oh, there's one of mine, the Synths. Yan Quinn made the Mirelurk Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I should have cleaned up my folder, huh? The Power Fist. Some more of the Protectron that Charles worked on. Love this stuff. Do you think you see this when you're like fighting these things and flame and smoke is pouring out of them? And
most of the time you're running away.
yeah, it's cool though. It's really cool. The railroad rifle. I was confused with the junk jet. Alien blaster. All these things have different mods that you can put on them. No duplicates. The Fat Man.
We actually have one of these at work that a fan built for us, and it's super accurate, and I walk around with it all the time. It's really awesome.
And then the Fallout, I think it was the Fallout Anthology is what we called it. Came in one of these mini nukes, and there's a little button on it you can push, and it.
Which I spent a day pressing every 5 minutes just to annoy.
Yeah.
Circle around me.
This is the junk jet, so you can just put whatever junk you picked up in the world in this thing, teddy bears, baseballs, whatever, and it shoots them out. It's a lot of fun to kill creatures with teddy bears. The Ripper. Shish kebab. duplicates. I think that might be it. All right, Dennis. You ready?
No.
All right, now you're going to see some robot stuff.
While they're transitioning, is there a question out there?
Yeah, please, if anybody's got
While they're
any
making the swap?
questions about Fallout 4.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
That sparked something.
Hi guys, thanks for showing your work.
Hi.
How long do you guys, or how much time do you guys devote on prepping all the kits and then moving on towards producing work? For example, for this character, I don't know.
As far as concept art, like developing concept art wise, or just the actual model into the
Like
game?
actual models for your robots.
For the robots, probably took a little bit longer than we would traditionally do for other characters because we had to take the modularity into account with the design and the way. There was a lot of back and forth, fitting parts, checking them against other robots to see how they all interacted. But I would say for a base robot, probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months, with a lot of back and forth. And because we were new to it, there was a lot of R&D happening and, just trying to trial and error, a lot of trial and error with a lot of that stuff. So now, if we were to do something like that, it's like for Automatron, it was way faster because we already kind of knew what we were doing with that stuff.
Anytime we know we're gonna have a lot of something in the world, the player's gonna encounter it a lot. At the concept phase, we're trying to see if there's a way we can kit it out. So it could be the feral ghouls or any creature, anything. If we know there's gonna be a lot of them, we're trying to find a way to make it modular, and so there's more variation out there.
The initial time invested in a robot, if it's like 2 months, for example, our characters can get from 3 weeks to 4 weeks, right around to
Sure,
to
yeah.
get to. But we try to, if we're going to give something that much time, well, it could be a hero asset, which will get a lot of time too, but we want to make sure that it's reusable in a lot of different ways. So the robots got a lot of initial time investment, but because now they're interchangeable, you have a sentry bot with a robo-brain head or these, Protectron arms. Now you have a totally different enemy type. So you get a lot of long-term variety out of it. So it's a good time investment at that point. Hi, guys. This is Sentry Bot. He hates humans. And let me think here. So ZBrush for us was very useful initially because when we were first talking about doing CreateABot, which is almost right at the beginning, I love robots, by the way. I make robots in real life. I've gotten hurt by them. And basically, I wanted to see if we could do something. So me and Guy Carver, he's a technical director. He also loves robots. But we wanted to see if we could, kind of bring this to the fans. Hey, make your own robots and kind of let the fans really get creative with their own ideas. So we kind of had to keep it on the wraps because we didn't want to scare the other developers away in the beginning. And we started with an initial system, we boxing everything out. And the nice thing about ZBrush is I'd go on ZBrush and I would sketch out. We already knew we were going to have certain robots, but we were, sorry about that, guys. This thing not stick to me. Let me see here. So I can show you a little bit of the earlier, when we were first kind of sketching out. This is horrible, by the way. It's like 4 or 5 years old. But this is basically one of early sketches for different ideas for SentryBot and what he would look like until we started kind of getting it in the design. But the nice thing was like we could go into the game. We would decimate it and immediately just bring it into the game and see, hey, how does it kind of look when you're walking in front of it? How does it feel as far as presence, all sorts of stuff? Put them into different areas to see how, like, what scale is he going to be, how imposing is he, all those things. And how he's going to navigate the space. It was a lot of back and forth because some designers wanted him to be able to go to single doors, and we wanted him to feel like a tank, so we kind of compromised and he was going to be a lot bigger, actually. Made it so that he can go through at least double doors. And we worked with designers to make sure that the levels were designed around this specific bot, and he wouldn't go in an area where he was not going to be able to navigate. This is just more kind of initial, when he started becoming more what he was going to be, but early on. some different sketches. And it's all done really roughly with the clay tubes brush, a lot of pushing and pulling with the move tool and the dam standard and the H polish. And pretty much every other brush that was in there, even ZBrush. But yeah. And then we started prepping kind of what we wanted to, again, all in ZBrush. This is before we ever got into the engine. We kind of started getting a basic division of the parts of the robots that we knew we wanted to swap out. So we have the basic bots. We have Mr. Handy.
Show the Automatron trailer? Do you think that would be good to
Yeah,
maybe
let me
a
show
little
this.
later? Okay.
Yeah, right after
Cool.
this I'll show. So I'll show you guys the Automatron trailer. And, but let me show you this first. So basic Mr. Handy. This is the basic Handy bot, Sentry bot at the time. Protectron. This is the original Assaultron. We were going for a Spaceballs kind of thing at the time, and it changed. We decided that was probably not a good idea. This is another version of the Assaultron, just messing. We wanted to have like a steampunk, just kind of sketching around. So then we started putting these different elements together. So I had a Protectron top and a Sentry. And even though it was very early on and it was very rough models, when we started showing this to people, they were like, oh my God, the potential of this is incredible. And you'll start seeing why, because you start getting stuff like this, you know, Sentry bot on Protectron legs, Handy on Sentry bot, and you know, and it's like people love making this stuff. Once we released Automatron, some of the stuff people were making are amazing. I mean, there are Instagram accounts with thousands of followers just dedicated to different robot varieties and the things that people make.
And you can take major characters from the game, like Codsworth,
and
one
turn
of the
them.
first characters you meet in the game. He can be your companion, and you can remake him to look however you want, and it's still his voice and his character coming.
Yeah, so he's still very, you know, proper and nice, but he will it up. So, yeah, so this is just kind of a continuation. You start seeing, you know, Sentry torso, Sentry legs, and Assaultron arms, and that steampunk weird head. This guy was a favorite. I mean, when I showed this, Todd is like, that's going in. So, yeah, so, you know, it's just a lot of fun playing around. This is another area where we were trying to kind of sketch ideas of what kind of just mods, not just the mixing and matching, but mods for an actual model like Handy, what could be the different looks that we could give him. And this is how you build him up in the actual game, but we were doing it in ZBrush just to kind of show a progression and the variety and stuff. So the nice thing about ZBrush is that it lets you do all this very, very fast. The bad thing about ZBrush is that it very quickly can get you overscoped, because you can do so much in ZBrush. You're like, yeah, I'm putting every single one of these things in the game, and then you know, from the top it comes down like, no, you're not, you know. So that was sad, but anyway. So then, as far as getting into the actual production model, once more decisions were made, you know, here's another example of kind of what we did for. Well, I showed you that terrible Spaceballs Assaultron, but then we did, you know, kind of just different looks, and we came up with this, and they were like, well, that feels too futuristic, doesn't fit the vibe, so this was one of the original Assaultron designs, and you can start seeing those started heading in the direction where she is now, and then we ended up with, sorry, I know it's here somewhere. Where are you? Okay, so, you know, this was actually just totally sketched up in ZBrush, concept art, then quickly poly painted to kind of give an idea of what we wanted to look. And she ended up really translating to almost exactly this once we started making the final model. We go in there, we say, oh, how does she fire off the head cannon that tortures everybody, all of our fans? And you know, what do the hands do? They open up, they spin up. We kind of just wanted to kind of see the vibe. We posed her in ZBrush. We rendered her out with the BPR renderer, and kind of just really quick. And even though it's rough, it really helped us very quickly get ideas for gameplay, get ideas for presence and colors and all that. And we played with a ton of different color varieties, and this all happened really, really fast. So at this level, at this part anyway. And then after that, we start going in there, and the way I work with this stuff is I will take that concept kind of mesh that I had, and I will start just creating final parts on top of it. And this kind of shows the early stages. You can tell you can see a lot of the strokes. It's very rough looking. And over time, like you see over here, these are more final model parts. These are actual parts that we're going to go into production. And what I would do is as I create a part, I make a final part, I start kind of erasing away the sketch portion of that so that I still could show it to people and leads and whatnot and get feedback with the entire model as a whole. How does it look? Half of it, part of it would be more finished, and part of it would still be sketched, but it still lets you get a very good idea of where it's headed, the vibe, and any changes that need to happen along the way.
Dennis, there's a question online about
Yeah.
what you're showing. What you're showing there inside ZBrush, do you have a custom metal material, or are you just using a material that ships with ZBrush?
A custom metal? Yeah, custom
So
metal.
you
I
made
love doing that kind of shit, by the way. I spend a lot of time with that, Yeah. Yeah, so custom metal. I try to use a couple of custom materials. I'll show a little bit of that, kind of see how it's used. That's another thing actually I like about ZBrush is because I can play with all these custom materials. I can literally just make a render of it and throw it out there on my, as far as different, give the art lead a lot of different options and be like, oh, you can really zone in. And then when we start making the actual material for it, I already know where I'm going. There is no kind of time wasted in that regard. All the time is wasted in the beginning. So let me see. Let me see what else we got here. So, so yeah, same thing with SentryBot. You can see early on, this is kind of how he was, just really rough shapes. The biggest thing with him was, with all the robots, was just trying to get like a silhouette. That's really the big thing to try to figure out and make sure that the bigger shapes fit the vibe. And where do we want to land with these different bots? Functionality. So I was testing range of motion in ZBrush. How does this guy fold up? What are the different positions that he can be in? This is when he's kind of parked or powered down. The early RoboBrain sketch. This is a sketch in ZBrush too. I ended up passing it off. I redesigned the head, but I ended up passing it off to Charles Kim, who finished the robot, did a great job on that. That's another nice thing, like I love 2D concept art, but I will say one of the things that happens constantly is 2D concept art, especially with mechanical stuff. It's just very hard to translate that as a 3D model. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be figured out. With the 3D, even with a rough sketch, every time I pass something off, all the joints were figured out, all the positions, the ranges, like everything was, the functionality, that was figured out. The artist could go in there and I'd still give them a model that had the overall look, but they could put their own flair on it. But they didn't have to worry about the little technical, mechanical aspects of it. That they could just follow what I already had there, and it would work in the game. It would just work with that's a Todd line. It just works. But yeah, inside. Sorry. But, so that was another big benefit. Less to kind of get lost in translation or slow things down. And then when we got to Automatron, it was a little easier first because we had the base bot and we build mods on top of that. But then we got to do really, the fun stuff, go in there on top of SentryBot and take out his other armor and start making, like the Wasteland armor, heavily inspired by Mad Max. I love that movie. And I was like, I'm putting a Mad Max robot in the game. And basically, what ended up happening is that as I started playing with different ideas in ZBrush, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make two classes of additional mod sets, one for the Mechanist and one for like this Wasteland kind of Raider look. And this is the beauty of kind of when you see something like, this was concept art, and when we showed it in the team meeting, Todd was like, we are making an entire part of this storyline just based on this concept. It inspired more ideas, it inspired an opening of gameplay and an entire new dungeon and a whole new set of faction of raiders just with one piece of concept art, because it's very easy to really get something to a stage that feels very final, and it just sells it. And then being able to jump into Keyshot now, that's huge now for me. That's a big thing because I'm a strong believer in in selling, like marketing your piece. Even if it's concept art, even if it's early, presentation, like that's a very big deal. Like how you present it is whether it's going to get sold or not, even within the studio. And that's something that applies throughout.
I mean, that's something that's makes working at Bethesda great, is that we make these big games and they're open world, so there is a lot of opportunity for anybody on the team to come up with an idea and pitch it and have it find a place in the game, find a corner in the world, where this can exist. And so we do get a lot of opportunities to, come up with our own ideas and have them ship in the game, and then see the players react to them. It's nice.
Todd is usually very, very open to seeing stuff, and if he gets inspired by something, it's all about how you present it. But yeah, if you dedicate the time and really own something and bring something cool forward, he will absolutely support you in getting it in. And that's one thing. I mean, I've been to other studios, and that's one thing I feel like was definitely a big benefit at working at Bethesda Game Studios. We're hiring.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that.
That leads into a great question I have online here.
Yeah.
This is working great.
Yeah.
What is Bethesda focused on when it comes to portfolio and hiring? So what are you guys looking for?
I would say vibe is a big thing. Remember, it's like I was saying about marketing and selling your stuff. It's like we have a high bar for quality of work and talent, but we do, like, the biggest thing is like your I guess it's hard to say, like the vibe you bring through, like, is it it's not all about the shine and how many details and all about whatever. It's about just
how you fit with the team. How you're going to mesh with the team.
Well, that's actually very important. But that comes. But to get even the interview, I'm talking about. It's just like your swagger, your visual swagger. I guess is the best way to put it. You know what I mean?
Dennis likes swagger.
That's
his
what
thing.
I'm saying. I'm cute.
I'll say that we had our contact info up at the beginning. Or if any people here want to come talk to us after the talk, be happy to talk to you about applying. Look at your stuff, or whatever. Please get in touch. We're looking for character artists, concept artists, effects,
pretty much everything.
Kinds of stuff. Yeah. So
and it's a great studio to work. Like I said, a lot of creative freedom. Great benefits. Maryland is very nice, well, we got Todd Howard, and he's pretty awesome, and we got me, so that's a good thing. So definitely come by.
I'm sold.
I knew you would be.
I'm in.
So when are you leaving Pixelogic? Oh.
Tomorrow.
Nice.
if you bring ZBrush 5 with you, we could make a deal.
I really like where this is going now.
Yeah. So our next game is Fallout R8.
Perfect.
I had to get you back for that, man.
Yeah.
I was like, but nah, actually the features were amazing. Actually, It's funny because I'm going to talk about some of my workflow stuff and just forget everything that I'm going to talk about today because it's all going to change once I get R8, No, don't forget everything. It's still good.
Don't leave yet.
Yeah. So I'll quickly show a quick image. This is where I started originally, as far as, again, roughly concepting in, and then how it starts turning into a final model here on the side. It kind of shows how I go along with it. And it's cool because it really lets me draw ideas, and if I don't like it, smooth everything out, undo it, whatever. It's so fast.
Can you bring that one back up? I was going to mention something. I've kind of learned from Dennis on how to do some of this stuff, and the thing that I like about this, I do a lot of concept art stuff, but I know how to do the sketchy thing. And I know how to do the thing on the left. I'm not as maybe meticulous as Dennis, but I like the idea that he's got that sketch and he's modeling to it, because you could maybe have an idea in your head and start with the final mechanical parts on the left, but you're not necessarily going to know how they'll come together into a final cool shape and a cool form and have an overall look that works together. But because he's got that rough sketch, and in many ways it's an organic sketch, he's always got that there to help guide him in modeling those final mechanical parts into something that works as a whole. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, damn. And the other nice thing about it is, like, this sketch down here, I decimated it, throw it in the game. How does this mod look? And this is ZBrush. Before I even got to low poly and unwrapping and all the stuff we hate, we drop it in there and just immediately know, oh, this design-wise, it looks cool. Detail-wise, it fits with what's going on in there. We had robots running around early on with ZBrush models our game hated it, but it didn't matter, it worked. So we were able to visualize stuff very quickly. What else? So you know what? Let me show you guys in ZBrush. I almost forgot I had this guy up.
Yeah.
So this is, again, SentryBot. Yeah, he went through that whole process of basically iterated on and sketched and started as a sketch, but then, you know, we really got to get in there and kind of get in on the details and figure out things that worked and things that didn't, and figure out all the joints and functionality. Let me see here. Oh, awesome. Okay. Same thing with, you know, figuring out the internals. We just have different layers in here for the different mods. I don't have all of them in here because this file is pretty heavy, as you can see already. SentryBot is a fat boy. He, as Lucas likes to complain about, I use a lot of polygons.
A lot of Dennis's method is just to like dynamesh everything to the max and then subdivide it.
Yep. And I don't, yes, I do. I not only dynamesh, but I subdivide it. And you know, I've been known to cook a few computers. So yeah, with designing these guys, the big thing for us was we designed from the outside in first, because we want to, obviously, that's the most important thing, the aesthetic. And when we kind of had the vibe that we wanted, we felt good about that. One of the goals for him is, and we had different ones for different robots, but the Assaultron and SentryBot specifically were meant to look scary from the beginning. And then the, you know, Protectron and Handy were meant to feel a little bit more goofy. But the one thing we wanted for all robots is when the armor panels blew off, these things had to be terrifying. I love Terminator. I love that scene. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was scary, right? Big scary dude pulling his eyeball out of his face, all that stuff. But when he came out of the fire of that truck, I remember I was like, and I was young. My parents should probably never let me watch that movie, but it made me love robots. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing. And he's limping, like, there's something about damaged machinery that is scary to me. And I love that. And the whole idea when he was limping and the way he was limping faster and faster to the door, like that stuff is terrifying. When he got his legs blown off and he's crawling. And if you play our game, you'll see we implemented a lot of this. I wanted the Assaultron. You can blow her legs off. She crawls after you really fast. And we didn't just make her crawl slow. She crawls about as fast as she runs. So the player's like, oh, I blew her legs off. And all of a sudden this thing is like, and it's funny. I see YouTube videos and people are like, you know, the Twitch streams, when we were watching Twitch streams for days when the game launched, and people were like, holy shit, holy shit, holy. And I'm just like, yes, you know, that's right. So basically the idea is like, you know, you blow the armor off these bots, all of a sudden, it gets even scarier. It's like, you know, I wanted to get these big shapes in here, like, you know, have these as like teeth and these big eyes, and it's just, when you see it from far away, it's just these forms that are very terrifying. Not only that, so to go along with that, you know, again, we get a lot of even design freedom. Even if you're an artist, you get to make a lot of design, have a lot of design involvement, which is great. So one of the design things we wanted for this guy that we pushed for was that when you blow his armor off, not only does it look scary, but he actually gets scary. They get faster. Their weapons get hotter. Like they shoot much more. They output much more damage. They basically just output way more damage and move a lot quicker. So they actually become even more dangerous. The idea for SentryBot, even though he looks very different, and SentryBot was to me very inspired by Ed 209. Because that's another robot that scared the crap out of me. I like the boardroom scene where he just wouldn't shut down and he just blows the guy out the window. That scared me. I was like, oh my God, this robot is psychotic. So in my mind, the backstory for SentryBot is he was made by a scientist who basically hates humans, and he was programmed by him. So SentryBot constantly, I wanted him to feel like an Ed 209, like even if he's your companion, you don't really want to turn your back to him because you don't totally trust him even still. And we tried to get that vibe off physically and with gameplay. And with ZBrush, we really were able to play with these big shapes and different kind of ideas to get those concepts across. And it's funny because as I'm sketching along, I'm visualizing this guy, being able to see this guy, I'm visualizing how would he feel in the game with animation and with all these different elements to it. And I'm coming up with stories as I'm sketching stuff. I'm like, yeah, this guy's crazy, and he's programmed, he's all messed up. So it was, you know, there's a lot that happens other than just sketching in ZBrush, which is, you know, but I'm ranting, right? I'm sorry. I mean, not ranting. Talking too much. I talk too much. He'll tell you that, but. So then we, again, in there, we can go in there and start putting mods on top of everything and just messing around with different ideas and how does it feel, vibe-wise. I know you guys saw the image, but I wanted to show it again.
Show the trailer. I think it's a good time
The trailer.
to see how it comes together.
That's Lucas's signal that I'm talking
yeah.
too much. And
No. It's. I forget how many different parts and animation sets and gameplay abilities that went into this system. But when you see this trailer, you kind of get a sense of how it all came together. YouTube.com.
All right, let's see. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Automatron, but quick trailer.
This was the third time we've been attacked by robots like these. It's time to uncover the source and confront their leader.
So on top of all the geometry, we've got
I
a
asked
material
your
system
assistance in stopping this
that allows you to
mechanism.
pick colors and finishes and things like that for another layer of control over these things.
I see the building blocks of life. Mine in particular.
The final confrontation awaits. I only hope we both live to see it.
Now you'll face the full might of the Mechanist. Come, my robots. Let's finish this.
So, yeah, that was a lot of fun to work on. And thanks. A lot of fun to work on, but I didn't get much sleep during that time. But it was worth it. And yeah, so basically, as you could see, well, that trailer even just scratches the surface, but like there's a huge variety of kind of mods and different things that we were able to do, and it was all done in ZBrush. For the whole system, pretty much was set up in ZBrush, and then kind of it inspired what we did on the tech level in the game, just to make sure everything was fluid and stuff like that. So what?
I'm going to show some techniques.
I guess I can show. I wasn't thinking about scoping too much, but I do have, well, like one actually that I think I get a question a lot of, so I'll demo one quick thing. So one thing I get a lot is like just kind of beveled edges, with Booleans and stuff like that. So I have one little thing that I do. I get performance anxiety in front of people with ZBrush. Okay, I'm just letting you guys know. I'm just letting you guys know.
Add more polygons, it'll be
I'm just
fine.
making excuses right now because it makes me feel better. So this is the next robot that's going in the game. And this is how nervous I am. I'm here with the damn mouse. Look at this. I'm trying. I forgot I had a pen here. All right. Let's see here. So what I'll do is, yeah. Thank you, Louis. He said, I'm the best. Just wanted to All right. So let's say something like this. You want to make a cutout. The thing about this kind of stuff is that, I'll make it even more interesting just because I like pain. No, I won't make it more interesting because I don't. It'll mess up right here now. This is where it'll fail to work for me. It does work though, but here, this is a quick example. So let's say you have this curved surface. It's really easy to, let's say, do a Boolean on like a flat plane. But let's say you have this curved surface. You want something that has a beveled edge. So what I usually do is I go in here, I go and extract, and I will extract this about. Let's see how that looks like. It's too much. Let's try that. So I have my shape here. And what I do is I go in here, and this is quick and rough, but it's just to give you an idea.
Are you using the polygroups here to do this?
Yeah, I'm using, because when you use the extract, it creates polygroups automatically. It's incredibly useful. And, oh yeah, local symmetry. So I kind of create the beveled edge on this actual Boolean object. I mean, like extracted object. And it's not going to be clean right now because I'm not spending time cleaning it up, but I just kind of want to demo it. And you may go in there and just kind of shape it a little bit better, but...
You might want to share how you did that with the transpose line.
How what?
You did that with the transpose line. You might want to share that too.
Oh, the scaling?
Yeah. People
Oh.
might not know that.
Oh, okay. Thanks. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
It's okay. So...
Wait, did anybody know what he did there? There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I told you I'd mess it up. Okay, so...
You're good. Lucas and I are here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you shift control.
No, you
tab
failed. No, it's too
on the
late to try.
polygroup.
Don't try to come in now like, you missed it too.
Control mask. And,
Yeah.
I lost it too.
So basically, once the extract is made, I hit Control, and I tap on. Let me show you actually the polygroups. So you have a poly. Did I lose my polygroups?
Did you lose
No,
them?
they're there. So I have a polygroup for the inner wall, the edge, and the outer wall.
And that just happens when you extract. It does that.
Right. So this is really useful because now I can go in there and I hit Control and I tap with the transpose tool, and it will select that polygroup, at least mask-wise. Well, it will, yeah, right. So it will select that polygroup. I go in there and I can just kind of get a general area. This is not going to be exact. And I'll kind of scale it down now. Now, I'll bring this up too, but before I get corrected again. Anyway. So if you hit local symmetry, it will let you scale stuff locally. If you don't, what it does, and you try to scale, it'll kind of pull it into the general direction of wherever.
The pivot point on the object you extracted from.
Yeah, so if you turn on local symmetry, though, it will scale both, and then, no, I guess not. Oh, I'm propping up. No, I think I'm on the wrong. What's going on here? Okay, there it is. It's on a different axis. Paul's fault. All right, so let's see. So yeah, so if you don't have local symmetry turned on, what will happen is kind of, they'll scale towards this, and now it doesn't want to do it. Oh yeah, scale towards the center, right? That can be good, not a bad thing. But in this instance, what I want is I want a much harder angle, a stronger angle for my bevel, so I'm just going to turn on local symmetry. It'll scale it here locally. Okay, so now you can see kind of what I'm doing here with my bevel. And I will now hold Shift, or Control Shift, to kind of create another extruded part toward inward like this. So that's going to be my shape. All right? If I want to get even fancier, let's see, do you think it'll work today, the extrude thing I tried yesterday? Should I try it?
Why don't you describe it?
So
I'll go ahead and try it.
Try it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the other nice thing about, when you work with Dynamesh stuff, it doesn't typically always give you like these straight edge loops that you can work with necessarily right now, but but when you do an extrusion like what I just did, you do get this line of triangle. So if you want to, take advantage of this moment right here before you Dynamesh anything to go in there and let's say you want to, let's say I want to create another seam in there, and you can go in there with the Z modeler and just kind of create a line right here and go ahead and let's extrude it. No, not you.
Polygroup or...
No. Okay.
Are you doing the edge thing again?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the edge thing again.
Do the way I said.
Which was?
Add another edge loop right next to that one.
Okay. Yes, Lucas.
and then QMesh extrude the poly group you want.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Lucas might be onto something here, but whatever. I would have done that eventually.
This is my moment. Come on, man.
Where is it? It's the ring. Poly loop, is it? Wrong way.
Poly group island.
Nah, it's going the wrong way. You were wrong.
You're not doing the thing I said.
What thing did you say?
Should I take over?
Here. Here, go ahead.
Actually, no, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I
so.
knew it. I knew it.
You were going to do edge extrude, right? And the other
Is this
way
how
you-
it goes in the studio? Lucas is
Oh,
over
man.
Lucas is over your shoulder. Dennis, you're
even-
not doing that right.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
doing that right.
It's even worse. It gets
Absolutely.
even worse.
Now I know why Dennis was nervous.
Because I have Lucas here.
Lucas behind me.
You are no good. All right, so you know what? I'm going to do this. You know, a lot of times I was saying this in the workshop yesterday. A lot of times people spend more time trying to figure out this one way to do it because they think it's going to be faster. You're going to spend 5 hours trying to figure that out when you just go another direction. And that's what I do. I'm like Bruce Lee, be like water. You guys, Bruce Lee? Come on, Bruce Lee? All right, thank you. All right. So.
One clap. One clap. He got one. How about Leroy? How many claps does that get? Nope, none. No one even knows that movie. Forget it. Forget it.
Oh, they're just clapping because you're Paul, man. You make people laugh. That's the only reason.
Nope.
So,
Wait, quick question. Is it too dark to see? Does he need to switch material? Yes. They'd like you to switch material if you can. It's dark to see. And he's in polyframe mode.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
dense. Use like
is that better?
There you go. There you go.
All right. Oh, man, you weren't
Hey!
joking. It's the simple things.
Yeah.
You were not joking. It is the
I
simple
told ya.
things. All right, so I've masked this group real quick because it was easy to select out, and I'm just going to polygroup by mask.
Control W.
You want to drive?
I don't know what you're trying to do.
I know that. That's why you should just, you know. All right, so I'm going to go in here, and if Lucas will give me a chance, I'm going to.
No, not that one.
Oh, boy. Polygroup. Thanks, Lucas. I'm not nervous at all to begin with. in here. All right, so there you go. I extracted this little thingamajig here, right? Whatever. So now I take this object, and I'm going to turn it into a negative. And this will even get even better once the R8 features come in and you start. So this is what I was saying. This still applies. It just gets easier. And now I go in there and merge down.
You guys, with no saving ahead of time.
Oh,
You're
man,
bold.
Man,
You're too
no, that's
late. You did it.
That's a good
You
one.
did it.
I'll give you that. We would have spent. Yeah, no, that was good stuff. I am a bold person, though, I will say.
Yeah.
But
Go with it.
all right, so let's go in here. I'm just going to move this a little closer too. So you can select polygroups. I think I covered that, right? Just by holding Control and tapping it with your
It'll
transpose.
Mask the polygroup.
Huh?
It masks the polygroup.
Yeah, right. So I'm just going to move this a little bit closer in here because I want that bevel to be deeper in. And I will crank up Dynamesh because I like polygons. Let's see. Let's see here.
So do you use ZModeler a lot, or you're more the Dynamesh workflow? This is a question online.
I'm sorry?
Do you use ZModeler a lot then, or you're mostly Dynameshing?
I'm mostly Dynamesh.
Mostly Dynamesh.
But ZModeler, definitely, like, whenever I do extrusions like that where I have clean edges to work with, I try to get Dynamesh in there. Squeeze a little extra polygons for Lucas. So I just had an error real quick, and you might have seen it. With that kind of stuff, if you just increase your resolution, it usually it takes care of all that. So let's see if that did work. And come on, don't do this to me now. There you go. Toma. All right. So there you go. So the nice thing about that is now you have a beveled edge that follows the surface. You're not in there with a brush trying to, get it just right. You can still go in there, and I would. Again, this is only like sloppy here, just because I didn't spend time with the actual initial setup. But if you spend a little bit of time with it, you can get perfectly clean edges and not have to work those edges anymore. This is really great, and it works on really complex. Like if you have hard surfaces that, have a lot of shape changes, and you want to go in there. Just mask the area where you would typically want some sort of Boolean or hole or anything like that, and you want a beveled edge and this kind of stuff. It works really well. Yeah, so that's that. It's really useful for me, so I figured you guys would get something out of that.
Yeah, it's cool.
One more thing that I actually do use a lot. I don't know. I'm going to bring it up because I don't know if people generally use it this way, but like the H polish, especially for hard surfaces, I feel like I actually sculpt with it a whole lot, not just the clay tubes, because if you hold Alt and you go in the opposite direction, you really can start getting big clean shapes. It's like with the clay tubes, you get in there and you start making, you still have a very rough shape, but with the clay tubes, it takes a little bit longer to work it, but I think that you can get in there and really just start getting immediately these kind of more traditionally hard surface shapes, which is good stuff. Actually, I did a workshop yesterday with some of the students, and one of them gave me a really good tip. So I'm going to share it here as if it was my own, but it's not. It's his. I wish I remembered his name. He gave me, it was good stuff. But you go in there, and let's say you're blah, 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 you're making these big details, and oh my gosh, look, whatever is cool. And then you go into clay polish, and you can adjust all these settings here, which I've never used this before. I haven't actually played it, but it was such a good tip, I feel like I have to share it. And you hit the clay polish, and it will kind of tighten up the surfaces for you. So even if you have kind of a rough sketch, it didn't do anything. Oh, man.
It's too many polygons. Yes.
All right, so listen, all this judgment, okay? There would be no SentryBot without polygons and lots of them. All right?
I get to just sit up here and pretend I know what I'm talking about. This is pretty good.
So, was it really the polygons? Yeah? Or you're just saying, you're just messing with me, right? No, it's the polygons. Oh, okay.
Take a sphere. Just take the default sphere and show it.
Okay, default sphere and show it to him. I'm going to listen to Paul.
Or a cylinder.
Oh, all right. Or a cylinder. There you go. I'm going back to what I was going to do. I will not be bullied. Okay, I got a sphere, and? No, I'm just all right, and then clay polish. Now it's going to work, right?
You don't have anything to polish.
I'm starting to think that this was a mistake.
Dennis is the one who got invited to come out here and talk because of his awesome robot work, and he asked me to come along and help. So I'm here to help.
I got a sculpt. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Look, I've never used this technique. I was going to share it because I thought it was useful. I'm going to go back to showing the stuff that I know how to do, which is very simple.
You brought it up.
You know what? No, I'll show this. Come to the next year's summit. I'll have this locked down. Don't you worry about it. But I will show this, actually, this other thing. Concept art-wise, I conceptualize a lot in ZBrush, and I take it in, and I try to get it into a final model. But what I've noticed is when I conceptualize ZBrush can tend to make things look so finished that it's kind of misleading to the leads, and they're like, oh, it's finished, and you did that in 2 days. Go ahead, we're going to mark it fixed. And that's for game development, that's when you finish your task. And I'm like, no, it's a concept art. Because you can put all these nice shaders and immediately, or even with KeyShot, and make it look like this close to final model. But it's all fake for now. You need to kind of sell it. So what I've been doing now, and this also has helped me kind of figure out shapes and design, is I made like a toon. It's based off an existing ink and paint kind of material that I found, but I modified it more to my needs. And what I like about this is it hides a lot of the shading. It's just big shapes, and you can go in there and like really, well, I can show it to you like this, but you can go in there and really see just kind of what you want to pull and what you want to use, and it's kind of cool, and it looks cool. Look at that. It's just like a comic book. But I will load up what I brought for the workshop real quick.
Question on the floor while you're doing that.
After you finish the concept and you have to retopologize to go to the game, how do you go about that? Do you do it in ZBrush?
I do most of my retopology in 3D Studio Max right now. The graphite tools are pretty strong, pretty powerful, and for me anyway, being able to create topology directly on top of the geometry is very useful. I don't think ZBrush can do that right now, right?
Well, Topology Brush does, but
It can? Okay, you and I have to talk after this is over.
You can do it two ways, topology brush, or even with Z-spheres
Okay.
as well.
Okay, we
you
are
can draw
definitely,
topology.
before I fly out. Okay. So this is, I had done this, another head for the Assaultron to get students to, well, show my process and also, get ahead into our actual game modded in. But before I did that, I basically showed the stages of how this thing progressed, because I saved different versions of the head as I progressed. So this is kind of, it started as a sphere, and this I was going through and was like, trying to figure out the shapes, what I wanted. But this is a good place where I can use the sketch. So over here, I kind of just, this is how I worked with it. It hides a lot of the bigger surf, like curves and all that. So it's kind of more, you're looking for shapes and volumes and just kind of getting, it's really easy to start picking out, especially with the clay tube brush is really great with this, because you can start, if you have like a stroke or whatever, all of a sudden one stroke can just lead you down a path of how a part should look, which is pretty cool. And this is kind of how I progressed until it got to that kind of, so this is my final sketch kind of model, and then eventually it became, I did the same process I usually do to create the final piece. And then again, nice thing about with something like ZBrush is that I can go from this sketch shader that basically lets me just work for conceptualizing and hide some of the details, and then immediately just put, oh, how does this thing feel like a metal, and get a vibe immediately, and start working with that and get it, and experiment with different ideas for the game. Is it your turn yet?
you're doing great, man. Oh, man. Yeah. As long as you got stuff to show, go ahead. I can fill the rest of the time for sure. But
Okay, so, do you guys have any questions, please? Okay,
all right, this is good.
that helps.
Please.
That helps.
Here you go. We'll take them first and then come to them too.
I got a second question. So, you guys got quite a really dense robot there. Speaking of low poly, what is your budget, and how do you guys go about generating normal maps for this stuff?
Budget-wise, it ranges differently. The robots were probably on the high end of all the creatures because they had a lot of interlocking parts. But, this may sound high, but it's actually not high for a big. Sentry Bot is really big, but he's about 22,000 triangles, and he's not. And if you were to look at him actually, and I told you 20,000 triangles, you'd be like, no way, because it looks much lower than that. He has a lot of just boxes and stuff, and we relied heavily on normal maps because he needed to have chunks that blew off, so it couldn't all be just one continuous mesh. It had to be a lot of intersecting meshes, and because he's a robot, he has a lot of joints that are functional, and so a lot of round shapes. But yeah, about 22,000 for him. He's the highest end one. The rest of the robots are probably around 15,000.
So, and as far as normal maps, the process we use is to bake an object space map and then convert it. We used a tool called Handplane 3D. This might get a little technical, but lots of game engines have a different way of calculating normal maps, and so Handplane let us do one that fit really well with our engine. So any baker that could bake an object space map, we could use, whether it's XNormal, Substance, Max, anything. Yeah, so that was our process.
Cool. Another question right here.
Hey guys, I'm a huge fan of Bethesda.
Thanks.
Huge fan of your work. In fact, I was playing Fallout 4 yesterday. I just love
Nice.
the game
Oh,
so
cool.
much.
Nice.
Yes, I may take up on the after
Sure.
when I
Definitely.
graduate from here because I'm a
Absolutely.
really big fan. I'm a fan of Fallout, fan of the Elder Scrolls. Obviously, I kind of look like a Nord, but When you guys are working with something like Fallout, that's a game series that has been going for so many years, and you know some of those robots like the assault rooms, they have been going for so many games. How much liberty do you guys have to change the design from one of those iconic characters? And do you guys actually use some of the assets as a base work to work on the new ones or something like that?
That's a good question, actually. We don't reuse any of our assets. We build everything from scratch. We get a lot of freedom as far as being able to reinterpret stuff. I can show you real quick, actually, I think here, what the Fallout 3 Sentry Bot looked like.
So our general approach, even with the game features, is that we try to look at everything and try and look at it fresh. So even things like bats, you know, compare that Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, we kind of did a new take on it. And we do the same thing with our characters and our creatures. We look at the sort of the vibe and the feel of it, and then we try and reinterpret it again for each game. So it feels like a new game every time.
So I absolutely had this guy up as reference. And you can kind of tell I took some cues from it as far as design. We wanted to, you know, make things feel, well, more believable, more functional, but and still have a nice design, but still kind of pay homage to what we had before and not stray too far away from that.
Yeah.
So we kept the 3 legs. But yeah, so Handy probably changed a little bit less because he's way more iconic. What we did with him is we tried to modernize him a little bit. And you know, the other thing is from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, we could just do so much more, like create the guts for these guys and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of changes the look of the whole bot and what we want to do on the surface of the bot versus the internals of the bot and how those two play with each other, and just kind of make him feel a little bit more retro. But we do not reuse assets.
We'll also look back at the concept art from the earlier games and try and draw inspiration from that because it may not have all come through in the in-game stuff.
I mean, yeah, I even looked at art from Fallout 1 and Fallout 2.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially with Fallout, Adam Adamowitz's concept art for Fallout 3, he more or less designed the whole game, and his art is amazing. So we looked back at a lot of that stuff and used as much as we could.
Yeah.
There's another question up here. Who was it?
Hi, you guys. I think your stuff is really awesome.
Thank you.
I never play video games. This is like the first time. Like, this is incredible.
Nice.
Could you talk a little bit more about how you created the shader for the iron shader that you've been using?
The metal one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can show you. I just...
No, not the tune one. The one to create the look like...
The metal one.
The tune one?
Metal.
The metal one.
Yeah.
Okay, the metal one. I mean, I didn't... Let me see here. Usually what I do, I'll start off with some existing shaders that are in there. And then I will select one of the... If you go down here under the standard materials, you can select these tri-shaders and quad shaders. So I'll copy a specific quality from one material, because you can do copy shader here, and it takes all the values that are in here. And I'll go to that quad shader, for example. Let me see, and I will.
Saving.
Oh, it's too
You're
late.
all right.
It's too
You're
late.
good.
Okay. And then I'll paste it in here, right? So now it takes those values. You can turn off each of these channels just by clicking these little circles, and you'll see you're down to your. Well, that's not right. Oh, that's right, because it has two parts to it. So then I go in there. I'll copy the second one, right? And I will drop it into the quad shader that I just had. Paste it in there and turn it on. So now you see I'm back to my original, right? But now I have these two other channels in here that will also blend. And you can, the way it blends back and forth is here in the mixer. And you can blend. It's really powerful. It's probably a little too deep for me to cover now all the aspects of it. But what I would definitely say is, depending on which one you have selected here, it changes the settings for, it changes what you can change the settings for how they blend across each other based on cavity, AO, all that kind of stuff. So just for real quick, let me say I grab, I'm trying to think which one would be. Let's try this one here, just for quick. This is another one that I made some time ago that I liked. Oh, this one uses all three channels. See what these look like. No. No. I guess let's try that. And I'll go back to my quad shader here, and I'm going to paste this in the third channel here. And I'm going to turn it on and just kind of see what happens. So see, you get the qualities from that. And then you come in here and just, there's a ton of options within each one here that you can play around with to get different looks and stuff like that. But the way they blend with each other is really where I think a lot of the power comes from. So you can get it to just blend based on kind of what AO it has. And here I'll jump back and I'll turn it on and off so you can see what the differences it makes are. See? So it's blending based on the AO, and it's like another layer of that the shader can work on top. You can also paint via, you can also blend via color, and I use this a lot for if I want kind of rusty bits or a matte to go to a shiny. I paint with, you can blend it with black and white using your like intensity. So if you have a part of the map, here, let me see if I can actually get this to work real quick. Let's say I fill this object with that, and then I'm going to turn this off I'm going to turn that down to nothing. Oh, actually, no, by intensity. All right. And I can go in there and paint. I should have probably done black. It should work. Let's see. Oops. Where are you? So if I go in here and I paint, you can change the color, but you see it starts flattening out. It gets flatter. It's not as, well, actually, I'm going the wrong way. That's why.
You're right. You're good.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be coming through, though. That's the thing. Yeah. Well, I swear it works. I swear.
No, you're right.
Okay.
The color swatch is looking at white. You fill it with white. So the one material then is looking at white. So if you start painting with a different color, like black or the gray,
It will blend across
get rid
it.
of that material and give you the material.
It's very useful for if you go from a matte to, kind of painted metal and that kind of, shiny metal for scratches and stuff like that.
He was right, though. It was
Okay.
good.
Yeah. You put me on the spot. And, no, just joking. I'm just joking. No, that was a good question. Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
No, I don't know. Is that all the questions for now? Yep. All right.
Okay, so what does that mean?
I think it's my turn.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got about 15 minutes, right?
And I'm going to with
Yeah,
you the
you got
entire
13.
time.
13. All right. Well, we're going to go.
Be more-
I'm going to zoom a little bit.
Don't
then.
do that, Lucas. It's wrong. It's wrong. Wrong folder,
How
Lucas.
should I move this window,
Wrong
Dennis?
folder, Lucas.
Can you do that for me, please? All
Wrong
right.
mouse button.
All right.
Are your offices close to each other?
Actually, no.
You can hear Dennis through the whole office no matter what, so it doesn't matter.
Listen. I have a lot of zest. Okay? So I'm a zesty individual.
All right, I got a lot of stuff because I didn't know exactly what I want to talk about, but so I'll just go quick. So I do a lot of concept art in Photoshop just with things like this where it's easy to draw, right? You could, costumes, characters. Like Dennis was saying, you get into hard surface stuff, it's harder to figure those things out with just a drawing or a painting.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of stuff, these are the Farragles from Fallout 4. I can do that in Photoshop, and I can figure out what this creature is going to look like before I go into sculpting. And that's how I like to work. I have a harder time doing what Dennis does, where he comes in fresh and explores ideas in 3D.
Because you're not as good, but it's okay. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. Although this guy, to start to get into more hard surfacey things, I did some quick models in ZBrush, and I wanted to get the metallic reflections without having to paint it. So I pumped it through Keyshot and then painted in around those volumes for, and this is the Mechanist from the Automatron DLC. So anywhere where I can get that shortcut, concept art's about communicating an idea as quickly as possible, getting that idea and getting it across. It's not like illustration or the final assets where you want it to be perfect and look nice. It's really just, can you understand the visual idea, the visual concept I'm going for? And so getting to that point is quicker. Now this is Nick Valentine from Fallout 4. So this was 3D, but this is not concept art. This is a personal piece, Orchid, and a couple of the 3D printer vendors out here were nice enough to print this for me, so I'm hoping to take that home. And this is the straight out of Keyshot render. I just kind of like how this shows the poly paint a little more. And I might get a chance to show you guys, but I'm a big fan of poly paint. I know it's an old school thing, but I can get something like this paint job very quickly with cavity masking, and even on hard surface models. So you're not doing something like Substance where you're painting in full materials, but if you're doing concept art and you're just going to paint over it anyway,
it's very fast.
It's super quick. You get a lot of great detail popping out. You can even do specular maps and bring them into Keyshot and get combinations of those things to get a really kind of final looking material, enough for concept art, and yet I'm not doing texturing. I'm just doing quick washes of color with poly paint. So that's some examples there. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So for this example with the synths, I probably spent about an hour on this. And it's not detailed color, but having this as a pass later, when I was doing my final materials, was very useful. And the cavity masking essentially lets me pick out these raised edges and the crevices and things like that, and then just wash color across them. Let's see if we can show that really quick. Oh, this is decimated. These days I use Dynamesh more for this kind of thing. But the basic idea, for those of you who have never seen it, I know it's an old feature, but it's super useful. Go down here into cavity masking, and the intensity is at 0. That's not going to help. You can start to see it's picked out the cracks there, and you can adjust these curves and your blur value to get larger features, and your intensity if the mask has got too much contrast. And then you can invert it to pick out, say now I'm going to be painting in the cracks, turn off view mask. I'm going to do a garish color just so you guys can see what's happening. Right? But very quickly I'm getting these washes of paint that can pick out different features.
Fill object is right there. If you want to.
Oh, you got. Thank you, Dennis. I'm using Dennis's UI, so.
Yeah.
And so if you just take a soft brush, maybe put a little alpha on there, do some washes over your character, and I'm getting these results quickly so that I can take it into either finish it as a piece of concept art or do final materials in another package. That's another example. So for the super mutants, they all shared the same head model, but we had one that was going to be a companion in the game. Mm-hmm. And Jonah Loeb did the original super mutant. But this guy was your companion. And so it wasn't in the schedule to have a custom head for him. But I was like, this is something that, since you're going to be spending time with this guy, it's going to be worth having a custom head. So I took the original model, I baked the texture. First I subdivided the model, projected it onto the high poly, so now I had UVs. So this is the low poly model. You can see weird topology. You're used to have triangles, but I don't care. I projected it onto the high poly. I baked the texture to a poly paint. And then I was able to retexture his face very quickly using those same features, using cavity masking. and get this model in. I started in ZBrush in the morning. I had it in game by the end of the day. And that was something where it's like, it's not in the schedule, but this is something I'm going to do quickly because I thought it is worth having in the game. And I did the same thing for Valentine. He was also, one day I started with the synth model, and by the end of the day I had him in game. So, yeah, that's something I want to show there.
The speed about, the nice thing like about ZBrush and the speed you gain from it is that, especially with game development, because of limited time constraints, the difference, at least at our studio, the difference between getting something you want in the game versus versus just getting in what you're assigned to do is speed. If it had taken him too much time to get a new head, to do a new head, he wouldn't have been able to follow his vision on that, to get a new head for that specific character in the game. It just wouldn't have happened. But because he was able to do it so fast, it got in. It didn't get cut.
So this is a concept I did for the summit, because I was trying to pull out something that I've done that kind of explains how I use ZBrush now for concept art. It didn't really have anything. So this is an example where I wanted to explore a cyborg of like, not like an evil Terminator kind of thing, but, a guy who's just, he's using the tech to be augmented, to be better. And I was also inspired by a lot of like generative design these days, where you see things where computers are designing with algorithms. And additive manufacturing, 3D printing, you can create looks of things they're really interesting. So I thought, what if we did a cyborg with that kind of a thing? I'm going to skip over some of my other stuff, but because this concept, I don't really care what the guy's face is. I didn't model this from scratch. I used a head scan I got off the internet. And this is a movie of me just like, the guy was just kind of regular Joe, so I wanted more of like a Captain Picard kind of head. And the scan came with a decent topology from a Z-remesh, and so I was able to step down in the subdivisions and push and pull his face around. And with organic sculpting, having a good topology really matters, because you can retain the original forms of the face even when you're pushing and pulling it. You're smoothing it, using the move brush, transposing it. And then when I step down in subdivisions, or step up in subdivisions later, when you go to the high detail, it's all still there. So, this kind of quick mashing up of scanning is like a new thing for me, but I found a really useful way to get, again, I don't care who this guy's head is, I just want to explore that fusion of the flesh and the mechanical stuff. So getting this set up for me quickly was a way to speed that up. Let's see, why don't we open up a model of it? I think we got time for that. Five minutes.
Sculpt off.
We'll just go to the last one.
That was really stressful, by the way.
Yeah. This is way less stressful than the sculpt off, to be honest.
I'm hoping to finally get sleep when I get home, because I still stress from that day.
So this is kind of where I ended up on the model. And this was, to start to finish, this was probably about 6 hours. But by using that scan and then modeling the parts on top, I was able to get to something to paint over pretty quickly. And the part where I was exploring, I did a pass on this geometry on his face probably 3 times. I tried using panel loops, and it was giving me too much detail. I tried using Z-modeler, and it wasn't giving me the shapes, and I ended up using some snap to line with a brush, carving in these cut lines and seams. I have some movies of some of this stuff, I think. Show some of this. Yeah, so I'm just using an alpha to carve out these spaces for his flesh to cut into. And this was the part I was interested in exploring. Like, I didn't know exactly how I wanted this to look. I had this reference of a 3D printed jaw that supposedly has, I don't fully understand this, but apparently these cavities are there so the bone can grow in and the flesh can meld with it. And I thought that was really cool. So I was kind of going for this kind of look. And again, I'm using this to explore ideas. And, this is not something I could do by drawing. This is not something I could do by painting. Having these surfaces and getting there quickly is what made this possible. And the geometry I'm working on top of here, it was an extract from the surface, clay tubes, get a really rough surface, and then I decimation mastered it to get these polygonal edges. And that was my sort of generative computer companion designer on getting those shapes. So if you do ZBrush, actually I think it might show it on the left side over here. And 1 point. Come on. Don't make me a liar. I'm a liar. In ZBrush, there's a button that says backtrack. Let's show it in ZBrush. I got it right here. Where is it? Is it in stroke?
Whatever you do, do not use clay polish. Right.
All right, so you turn on Lazy Mouse, backtrack, snap to track, and line. And then when you draw, you get this line. And when you go back over it, it sticks to that line. It still uses your tablet pressure, so you can kind of sketch in these lines. Although, ignore everything I just said, because the ZBrush stuff they showed on Friday is now way better than this by 100 times. Yeah. So that with the 3D alphas, I'm never doing this shit again. Like that, I was already talking to him right after. I'm like, wait, so I can cut a panel in and it'll go under? Yeah, I'm doing that.
But for now, until that comes out,
for the next few weeks,
there you go.
Snap to line. Yeah. And let's see what's in this movie, because I can't remember. Oh, so I used ZModeler a little bit just to give him a quick cyborg eyeball thing. Again, I wasn't going for like a scary guy who doesn't have like a metal eyeball with a red light inside of it.
Just has holes in his eyeball. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's got to be synthetic, right? Because he's got to be able to see your guts and
pull them out.
Why be a cyborg if you can't see people's guts? So.
No, that's not scary at all.
Yeah. So I'm just using radial symmetry with ZModeler to pop those extrusions in and out, and then poly paint it with cavity masking.
And radial symmetry is one of those things that, like, if you play with it and a lot of just really spend a lot of time playing with it, you'd be surprised. You can do a ton of stuff with radial symmetry. It's really cool. I've done radial symmetry on, like, you could take, let's say you take a box and you subdivide that, and if you use the circular mask, well, not circular mask, you can select just a circle. You use the circular mask and then hide the rest of your mesh based off that mask, and you use radial symmetry on that right there. People think you just use it on a cylinder. Like, you could take a box, you subdivide, you select that a little round area, and you can work in that area with radial symmetry. It really can do a lot with it.
All right, and I think we're done, right? We're out of time.
Yeah, you're out of time, unfortunately. Bethesda Studios, everybody. Lucas and Dennis.
Thank you.